So you heard during the testimony of Dr. Fowler that one of the things that he considered is the possibility that carbon monoxide was present and could have contributed to an environment that created an oxygen deprivation. You heard that testimony. In rebuttal to that testimony, the state brought Dr. Chauvin back in, and he told you, we can completely disregard that. We know as a fact, we know conclusively that Mr. Floyd did not have carbon monoxide because his oxygen was saturated to 98%. And you just heard the state say, just like I am right here, right? So it stands to reason. I could get up in front of you and I could argue to you, we know this wasn't asphyxiation because George Floyd had a 98% oxygen level. How could he have been asphyxiated at the hospital with a 98% oxygen level? But that's not intellectually honest. It doesn't stack up against the rest of the evidence because of what we know, right? We heard the testimony of Seth Bravender and Derek Smith, the paramedics. We heard the testimony of Dr. Langenfeld. They came in and they said they began resuscitative efforts. They introduced oxygen, an oxygen supply. They're manually breathing for him. They're reoxygenating his blood. So when you look at that piece of evidence, when you look at a piece of evidence like that, you have to compare it against all of the other evidence. Because you can't come in and say, George Floyd, on one hand, George Floyd died of asphyxiation, but he has a 98% oxygen level, right? His blood is oxygenated. Then stands to reason the opposite is true as well. You can't come in and say, I can conclusively prove that Mr. Floyd didn't have carbon monoxide in his blood because he had this high oxygen saturation. You test one statement against the evidence of other people and you compare it. That is what you as jurors are obligated to do and what I am asking you to do.